I would like to call the September meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Education to order. First tonight, I need a motion to adopt the agenda as stated. Ms. Epps made a motion. Second, Ms. Taylor, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed to adopt the agenda. First tonight, we have our opening devotion, and as I have done in the past, I tried to base each month's devotion on something that our teachers are also working on in the classroom. So September, I believe it's 15th through October, is Hispanic Heritage Month. And so one of my favorite children's authors is Pam Munoz Ryan, who wrote Esperanza Rising, and this is my all-time favorite, Macho and Lolita. If you get a chance, this is a love story, but it is one of her books as well. So I am basing my devotion tonight on Pam Munoz Ryan. So she is Mexican descent, and many of her novels and picture books are focused on Hispanic culture. Many of her storytelling features, they put forth prominent, courageous female protagonists who defy the societal conventions of their time. Just a few of her titles are Nacho and Lolita, Hello Ocean, Hola Mar, When Marian Sang, and Esperanza Rising. Her storytelling is filled with deep truths about resilience, hope, and identity. In Esperanza Rising, she tells the story of a privileged young girl whose life is turned upside down by tragedy and forced into migration. Stripped of wealth and status, Esperanza must learn to rise again, not by relying on what she had, but discovering who she is. This journey mirrors our own walk with faith. Life does not always go as planned. There's loss, hardship, and change can arrive uninvited, shaking our identity and security. Yet, like Esperanza, we are invited to rise, not because our circumstances are ideal, but because God walks with us through the valley and lifts us up with his promises. Pam Munoz Ryan writes with compassion and conviction, shedding light on marginalized voices. Her stories remind us that everyone's story matters, especially those that society may overlook. As believers, we are called to do the same, to listen, to speak up, and to extend God's love to the brokenhearted. When we sow in tears, when we trust God through our struggles, he promises that joy will come. It may not look like our old life, but it will be rich in grace, purpose, and new beginnings. From Psalm 126:5, those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. And next we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag of the United States of America. I call on Genesis Dumas and Madison Kennedy to come forward.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, ladies.
Good job. Thank you so much.
Hold on.
All right, 3. Hold your certificate up.
Yeah, hold your stuff.
There you go. All right, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, parents.
Good job.
Next week, move on to our recognitions, and if the family of Ms. Debbie Johnson will come forward. Montgomery County Board of Education Resolution of Esteem for Deborah Debbie Creighton Johnson. Whereas our Heavenly Father, in his infinite love and wisdom, saw fit to call home Deborah Debbie Creighton Johnson on June 13, 2025. And whereas her dedication to Montgomery County Schools for 22 years as a teacher and teacher assistant for a living testament of her integrity and skill. And whereas her loss will be deeply felt, not only by those with whom she served, but also throughout her entire community and county. Now therefore be it resolved that the Montgomery County Board of Education goes on record in expressing a sense of real loss and regret in her passing. That a copy of this resolution be conveyed to her family as an indication of our deep sympathy, and that a copy of the same be filed as part of the permanent minutes of the Board of Education. Thanks. I need Debbie.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. Her sister. Sister Cheryl. Nice to meet you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. For your good service. What are you doing? You recognize. Got another. Now I'd like to call on Dr. Roseborough for a few more recognitions.
At this time, we would like to call up Ms. Megan Kitchen. Ms. Evans, if you would come down and represent the board when we get Ms. Kitchen's photograph. Ms. Kitchen is recognized as our beginning teacher of the year, and we are super proud to have her represent our district at state level. She is a phenomenal teacher, and we have really appreciated her service to Montgomery County Schools. And so we'd like to present to you beginning teacher of the year for Candor Elementary School. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next, we would like to recognize our principal of the year, John LaChance. Give him a round of applause. So welcome, Page Street family. We would like to take this opportunity to thank John LaChance for his service to Montgomery County Schools, also representing us at the state level as our Principal of the Year nominee, but also Principal of the Year for Montgomery County Schools. It is very well deserved. Mr. LaChance has a very warm culture and climate. His teachers are an extension of his leadership. And so he exemplars what it means to be a servant leader. So congratulations, Mr.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right, we're starting a new tradition. Each year we'll have a district-wide theme, and this year our theme is Boots on the Ground. And so tonight we would like to present the first Boots on the Ground award recognition to none other than Dr. Jack Cagle for putting on a wonderful convocation where it had been years since we had a convocation, and he was all in. He made sure that we had everything that we needed to start the school year off right on a high note, and he also rallied community support around our school system. So we appreciate you. So come on up to get your Boots on the Ground award. He is cheesing.
3, 2, 1.
Nice. I was 8 months old. I was 8 months old when I could do these. Thank you.
So what we will do is, Jack, you will be responsible. Sorry, Dr. Cable, you will be responsible for passing on the award for next month to the next department. So congratulations to you and your department. Thank you.
Yeah, he does take bribes.
Now we'll move on to Roman numeral 3, public comment with no one signing up. We'll move on now to Roman numeral 4, which is the administrative reports and discussion items, and I call on Dr. Emily Shaw with the Human Resources and Policies.
Well, I guess I'm going to be the guinea pig. Let's see if I can get this right.
Roll up to your presentation.
I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting that we're using a new platform tonight, so we ask for grace from everyone.
As you can see, we are going through some changes ourselves up here. So
Very good. Good evening, board members. Tonight, I would like to introduce to you for first read several policies that represent the School Board Association's revisions and recommendations. This document is in your packet. It is the one that I generally provide for you kind of as a summary of all of the policies that are up for revisions, either a required or a recommended change or an informational change to the policy. September is kind of our big dump where we have a lot of different policies that come through the School Board Association. And I'm just going to briefly go through some of the required changes and some of the recommendations. At any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop and ask me. And remember, these policies will sit for a month. There's no action needed this month. It's just informational, and we'll do the vote next month. The first policy up is policy 1310/4002, parental involvement. There is a required change where we're going to add a section requiring written permission by the parent before allowing students to share sleeping quarters with a member of the other biological sex other than the immediate family member. This is a practice that we already have in place, but now we just have to have the documentation for this.
Emily, can you say that again real slow?
Okay, so it is going to add a section in policy saying that we have to have written permission by the parent if we are going to allow students to share sleeping quarters with a member of the other biological sex other than a family member. So that's not a practice that we practice anyway, but we have to have that in writing to be in compliance with the Parent Bill of Rights.
Okay, so when would that come up?
so that would be like
Overnight field trip?
Overnight field
a
trips.
mom has her son and then his best friend in the hotel room together.
We mostly see it in athletics with overnight field trips where you only have one or two people going to save cost. As Ms. Epps indicated, you would have a parent go and a parent have their child and that child's best friend. Well, we couldn't do that because you have people of the opposite sex staying in the same hotel room that aren't immediate family. But we don't, that's not a good practice of ours anyway, and so we don't, condone that. But now you just have to have that written permission in policy.
So the mother or father could give permission for her son to stay with his girlfriend, excuse me. Because you said opposite sex, right?
Right, right. So, for example, if I had my son, and there was a girl on the same team, if that parent of that girl wrote a written statement saying she gave permission for her daughter to stay in the room with me and my son.
So there would be an adult in there.
Yes.
I got you.
Right.
Okay.
And then 3202, parental inspection of objection to instructional materials. The required changes to the policy just clarifies the reference of parent to include legal guardians and other caregivers. So it's just a technicality in being more inclusive of what we mean and not just saying parents, we're going to say caregivers and guardians as well.
It also adds the new state law requirement that the titles of all library books at a school be accessible through a catalog on the school's website homepage, and that parents be allowed to identify any of the library books that their student is prohibited from borrowing. Okay? And then the recommended changes to the policy, which we do generally adopt, it just revises the process for parental review of materials to allow for an extension of time to provide the materials due to the volume and complexity of the request. So it's giving us grace on the time it's going to take to review that.
Ask a question. Of course. So I feel like I had read the legislative updates, and it also said something, and this may not have been passed, about classroom libraries. And but you didn't get anything from the school board association about that.
The school board association was not specific to classroom. It just said school library.
Okay. Because I feel like I had read that, but again, it may not have passed that way.
I'll be glad to look.
Check?
I will be glad to look into that.
So Emily, we have to put all the books in the library by title online so parents can check and look at the titles and see. Yeah. It's already in the system. Okay.
They just have to link Destiny to the.
Okay. Okay.
3320 school trips. This is one of those cross-reference policies that we're going to have to update to add the requirement that I already talked about in the previous policy to require that written permission by the parent before allowing sleeping quarters of a member of the opposite sex. 3510 talks about religion-based exemptions from school programs. This just revises the policy to address new state requirements that allow a student to be excused from specific classroom discussions, activities, or assigned readings that the student, parent, or guardian believes would either impose a substantial burden on the student's religious beliefs or invade the student's privacy by calling attention to the student's religion. And also it'll provide a student excuse for participation with an alternative activity or assignment aligned with the standard course of study, as well as provide advance notice to the extent practicable to the students, parents, and guardians of the discussions, activities, and assigned readings. Then 3620, extracurricular activities and student organizations. Again, that's a cross policy to address the written permission of the parent before allowing the sleeping shared quarters with a member of the other biological sex other than a family member. 4120, domicile or residence requirements. That just adds a new statutory requirement in Section D regarding the enrollment of children of our military families. 4318B, use of wireless communication device. This is optional. This alternative policy prohibits students' possession and use of wireless communication devices for the duration of the school day. This policy, it says it's optional because there were two other policy options there, but in discussion with Dr. Roseburg and our needs, this policy is going to align with what we have already started along with our posters and our discussions with our principals. Policy 5024/6127 and 7266, emergency epinephrine delivery systems. This changes the word epinephrine auto-injector device to epinephrine delivery system in order to include epinephrine nasal sprays. This is huge because we received a grant that provided the nasal spray, but we were not able to accept it immediately because our current policy reads epinephrine auto-injector device. And so that nasal spray did not come under an injector device. But now if we change it, and we have to change it because it's a required policy. So when we change it, we're going to be able to accept that grant and we're going to have these nasal sprays in our school. So that's huge.
Do you know if they have the limited time, like
They do.
They do.
They do. But being under a grant makes it, more
Less expensive.
more accessible. And our school nurses were extremely excited about this. Policy 5070, 7350, public records retention, release, and disposition. This updates the description of public record information in employee personnel files in accordance with the change of state law. 6125, administering medicines to students. Again, this cross-references the policy 5024, 6127, and 7266 to change that word to device instead, delivery system instead of injector device. 6340, transportation services and vehicle contracts. This references the criminal history check requirement in policy 7100, recruitment and selection of personnel, which goes then with 7100. That requirement change is that it adds statutory information about criminal history checks with our third-party vendors. 7820, personnel file, updates the description in subsection F1 of public record information of employee personnel files in accordance with this changed state law. And the strongly recommended change is to create a new section G, which regarding information about central office employees that must be posted online. And we are in compliance with that. And those are our numerous changes and required and recommended and informational changes that will sit for until next month when we take a vote on it. Are there any questions?
Let's go back to the 5318B, the use of the wireless. I don't really like the word that they can't be in possession. Are we saying that possession and use at the same time? Because I don't have a problem with them having them during the day and them being on them at lunch, but this makes it sound like they can't have them at school at all.
Okay. Let's look at, and I'm gonna try to pull this up correctly.
Sorry, guys.
Oh. Okay, so if we look at the policy, I just want to make sure that I captured that correctly. Okay, so if we look at section B, storage of wireless communication devices, it says except when students are authorized to use and possess wireless communication devices pursuant to section C of this policy, students will store their wireless communication devices during the school day in accordance with a storage plan developed by the principal. Does that help?
Yeah.
Great question.
I noticed that I don't know the numbers either. So when somebody asks me what my mama's phone number is, I don't know what that is, and so they may have to get their phone out to look at that. So I just was like, I don't know. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
And I'll say this again, I appreciate your cliff notes, because
Yes.
it does help us.
Yeah,
when we look
it's
at
a
it.
lot to go through.
It's a lot.
Yes.
And we have these big updates twice a year. Okay. Well, again, these will sit for a month. So next month, before we take the vote, if you think of any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those before we take the vote. Okay. All right, and I'm going to try to close these out without blowing it up. Okay.
I'm not sure they will take action first read.
Okay.
They'll do that later.
We'll do that later.
Okay.
We'll just take action for first read and
And then sit it.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Mr. Matthew Woodard for operations.
Good evening. I'm going to let Mr. Bams come in and open a Teams meeting. So Justin Stevens, who is with a company called Performance Services, that's my presentation tonight for information and discussion about his company and what they can do for Montgomery County Schools. And Justin's joining us live, or he's watching the live stream. His company's had a company retreat in Ohio, so he couldn't be with us tonight, but he's just going to be on standby. He'll be muted on the phone in case there are any questions about their services and whatnot. But again, right now, this is just an informational discussion. So we wanted to make him available in case there were any immediate questions. Thank you, Brian.
Just scroll down.
Try to make it full screen here.
Third button from the top.
Third button.
No,
And
bottom, sorry, bottom. That one, there you
Down the bottom.
go. Full screen. Yeah.
Good. Okay, now I'm ready. Good evening. Here to talk about the 5-year capital needs assessment. That last one was performed in 2020. The board accepted that January, February, I think it was, 2021. But here is the legislation that does require the public school systems to every 5 years to do a capital needs assessment and to present that to the county commissioners so they'll know what the needs are, and also so the state have an idea of what the needs are for the school districts. Our 2020 capital needs assessment was performed by Pinnacle Architecture. It was headed by Dr. Jim Watson. That study identified a little over $6 million of immediate capital needs at each of our campuses. The cost of that study in 2020 was $24,842. Once you compile this study, then every year you can do needs-based grant requests. And we started filing those need-based grant requests in 2021 based off this study. In 2022, we were awarded 4 of our schools their needs. So we submitted all the schools, but they awarded 4 of our schools. And so East Middle got 1.1 million, Candor $1 million plus, Green Ridge 84, and Page Street 351. In that grant, or in that needs assessment, what was identified was mostly roofs, mechanical systems, and the board was also very concerned about security. So the security vestibles that were put in at East, at Page Street, and Candor all flowed from this money. So that was a focus of the board when they did these needs assessment. What are the immediate needs? So that's where we were 5 years ago. Now it's time to select a partner to do the 2025 study. Performance Services is a design build company. Several times the legislation has been changed to allow local school boards more flexibility when it comes to construction and renovation. Back in the day, you picked the architect, you drew the building, and you bid it. Design, bid, build. Lowest bidder got the job. That can create some problems at times as far as cost overruns, contingencies, et cetera, et cetera. And so to allow local boards more flexibility, the legislature allowed CMAR, Construction Manager at Risk, which shifts some of the cost of the burden of overages onto the construction manager. If you'll remember, when we built Central High School, there was a discussion, should we use a CMAR to keep costs from escalating? Also, the legislature now allows for design build. And the difference there is design build already has a team in place. All the contractors have been pre-approved for these services. And so when they did design and put together a package for renovation and or new construction, they guarantee the cost. If it goes over that, it's on them, every penny. And so looking to build relationships in North Carolina, Performance Services is offering to come in and perform our needs-based assessment at zero cost. They are doing this for several counties, providing facility needs surveys at no cost. allows them to build relationships. It allows them to evaluate what our needs are in case they ever want to do business with them in the future, that they'll be familiar with us. And so they're doing this for Buncombe County. They're doing it have done it for Terrell County. They've done it for Washington County, and they're doing it for Yak. So they're building relationships across the state for these services. In return for providing our capital needs assessment study at zero cost, what they ask for is an opportunity to present to the Board of Education, preferably with the county commissioners, to talk about the different allowable construction delivery methods: design, bid, build, construction manager at risk, and design build. So they can show you what they feel are the benefits of their procurement method or their construction method. The other thing that they ask for as part of the agreement and the contract that they have included is with the attachments, is that they ask you to recognize design build as a procurement or as a construction method. It's not asking you or limiting you to that's the only thing you can use in the future. You can still do design bid build. You can still do construction manager at risk, but you have to accept that this is an option you may consider in the future. So it's a resolution that all counties do, and that document is included in the packet. So,
Matthew, let me interrupt you a minute. How long have these guys been in business?
I can plug in Mr. Stevens and ask him that question here.
Yes, sir. I'm here right now. We've been in business since 1998, 27 years now.
And how many schools?
We predominantly work in K-12 schools. Right? So 87% of the business we've done over the last 27 years has been with K-12 school districts.
Okay, and I know Matthew mentioned 3.
4, I think. Buncombe, Terrell, Washington, and I think they're building a relationship with Yakin as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, just to clarify that a little bit. So we are offering this service to several districts this year because we're new to North Carolina. We weren't in North Carolina. We're in 17 states now. Our headquarters is in Indiana, which I'm actually up in Indiana right now, but I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't travel up here often, but I have to be here right now. So we're in 17 states. We were not in North Carolina the last cycle when this facility needs survey was done, but we've been doing facility needs surveys, home facility condition assessments. I mean, that's what we've been doing the entire time we've been in business. And just like you said, I mean, our intent is simply just to build a relationship with the district and through that show you all the benefits of how we go to market and how we do business and have the opportunity to do work for y'all in the future. But this is in no way contractually obligates y'all to do business with us. All it is that you have to understand the way we do business, and you have to accept design build as an option for procurement in the future.
The question I've got, so if I understand you correctly, you've got 4 school systems in North Carolina that you are in the process of working with, but as of yet have not done any building or anything like that for those systems, correct?
No, sir. So we're about to wrap up phase 1 at Buncombe County right now. We did a project with Mooresville a few years back, and we are in the process. We're selected on a couple of other projects, and I don't want to name who yet because we haven't started any work yet with those. But yes, we're in the infancy stages in North Carolina, but we're building. We're building our network in North Carolina, and we will. I would say within the next year we'll be doing business with at least a half a dozen more districts.
Yeah, I mean, the point I'm trying to get at is I can't speak for the rest of the board, but me personally, based on having some poor experience with using construction companies in the past, I would want to talk to some school systems that you guys did work for 5 years ago and find out, okay, how's it going? The roof's leaking? Is everything fine? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would expect that. We have hundreds of references. I mean, a lot of times construction, bid documents will require you to list 3 to 5 references, I'm happy to give you 50 references. And they're just not all going to be in North Carolina. Very few of them will be in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to give you 150 if you really want. And you're
I'm
welcome to reach out to them.
I mean, that was the question I had. It sounds like you're just getting into North Carolina, so you wouldn't have anybody that's been out there 5 years that could give us how happy they were with your work 5 years into it.
Not in North Carolina, but in
Right.
other states, yes, we have a lot.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's excellent questions. And I might also add, if you decide to accept design build as an option, it doesn't bind you to performance services at all. You would still go through that process if we were going to renovate or build something of selecting an architect, of selecting a company. And then, of course, we would do, the request for qualifications, let them present, let other people present, but you're not bound to them.
That's right. And Matt, if you don't mind, I would jump in here. So we just did for another district in North Carolina. We just submitted a response to an RFQ for design build. It is growing in popularity, and it has a lot of advantages, which I would love to discuss with y'all at a later date. But so there were 11 responses to that, 11 different design build responses. So there is plenty of competition. It certainly doesn't lock you in. Any job that is put on a solicitation is put out for design build, we still have to compete at that point. The only reason we ask that you adopt it as an option is because that's the only kind of work that we do. We have guarantees in our contract, one of those being the no change order that Matt referenced earlier. We cannot guarantee the design of an architect that doesn't work with us. So we only do design build because that's the only way that we can guarantee our work, and we guarantee it 100% every time. We guarantee not only the outcome, but the cost. So that's a couple of reasons, but we don't do CM at risk, and we don't do design bid build. So that's why we ask in return that y'all, accept it as an option, and hopefully we can earn your business.
All right, Justin, thank you. Any more questions for Justin?
Well, I know, if I understand it correctly, what you're talking about is they're going to be the ones to select the architect. If we pick them, they're going to be the ones to select the architect. They're going to give us a price, and that price is in stone. It's not going up.
If you get to that point, yes.
Right. The first question I need to ask, where's the money coming from? Is this what comes from the state, or is this the county doing this?
In 2020, the county paid for the study.
Right.
And so $25,000. For this study, they're obviously offering it at zero cost.
Right. But I'm talking about the fund. I mean, we got almost $3 million in 2020. So where did that $3 million come from?
The needs-based grant, state.
The state. Okay.
Yeah, that is one of the purposes of this study. Is so when you fill out that application for needs-based grant, the first question it asked was this identified in your 5-year assessment?
Right. Right. I was just trying to pinpoint where that money came from, because I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy, but the county commissioners picked a different architect than what we had asked for the new high school. Is that not right, Tom?
True statement.
True statement. And it ended up costing more because it took longer to get it started, and there were a lot of problems that should have been addressed and may or may not have been addressed by the first architect. Starting with the baseball fields, the tennis courts, the track that's still having to be fixed every year. So I like the idea that, if we pick one company, they're also going to pick the architect, rather than somebody else.
Sure. And if you don't mind if I elaborate on that a little bit, we have 30 in-house architects. We have 75 in-house engineers. But we do partner with architectural firms. Typically, using our in-house design team helps us with the constructability as well, because our construction managers are in those. I mean, our PMs, our ops team that's actually building the building is sitting there with y'all at the table when we're going through and doing the design as well. So there's no, open to interpretation. You're not working off a set of plans. You're working off a set of plans that we made through conversations with y'all. I don't know if that helps, but yeah, we do partner with architects, but at that point we would have them under our contract, and then we would oversee their work, because to be honest, a lot of times architects leave a lot open to interpretation or tend to miss things. We can't afford to miss things, because if we're guaranteeing price and it's coming out of our end, we can't afford for them to be, sloppy work, for lack of a better term.
And
So
They're guaranteeing price, guaranteeing change order. What was that?
there will be no change.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, they're getting their pricing from their team, their contractors. It's locked in.
I would like to interject at this point. Right now, we're trying to decide whether or not we're going to go with them for the assessment piece. When we have our work session on October 23rd, we can dive deeper into the comparisons between architect, engineer, and design build firms. I think that that's a discussion we need to save so that we can dive deeper into that. And I am requesting that we table moving forward with the agreement until we've had an opportunity for our construction legal counsel to just look at it, because there are some revisions that we wanted to make within that agreement for performance services. So we want to allow the time for counsel to kind of look at it, see what things need to be included in our agreement for the needs assessment, and they'll also protect the interest of the board. And also, design build is part of procurement in North Carolina. So I think we're okay with that as well. We know that that is an option for us in North Carolina. But we're grateful that performance services is willing to do our needs assessment for us, free of charge. However, there are some things that are missing in the agreement that we would like to add in the agreement so that performance services is aware that we're particularly interested in.
And that brings up my last question, and I'm sorry to dominate the conversation here, but nothing in life is 100% positive. There's always some negative somewhere. So, you understand what I'm saying, sir?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
So, and typically you go with, whatever. If the majority of it's good, then that's great. But there's always going to be some downside. What in your case, what is the downside?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you talk to, right? And it really comes down to who the team is that is actually doing design build. So some design build firms, there are not a lot of integrated design build firms like we are. There's very few. I don't really know of any that operates the way we do. A lot of times, what will happen is you get a general contractor that will partner with an architect and act as a design build team. In that case, they're still kind of, one of them wants to win, and so they kind of, sometimes there are corners cut. We guarantee every piece of our design. We guarantee the scope of work, the bill of materials. We can't value engineer anything out, so we guarantee our price. It really comes down to who the team is, and when we're managing that, you all get to choose that team. So not only do you get to choose whether you use our architects or we hire an architect under a contract, but you also get to choose your subcontractors. Every one of them, you have input on that. You can go with the lowest price, but if you've had bad luck with that lowest cost contractor before, you can say, I don't care if they're a little bit, we don't want to use them. We would like to use these guys instead. They're local. We love keeping the money in the county. So I know I'm not really giving any negatives, and really, to be honest, there's not. The way that we do it is there's not a lot of drawbacks to it. Again, you can go on our website, and I encourage you to do so. There are hundreds of projects on there, and you're welcome. I'll be happy to put you in touch with anybody who's done work with us. A lot of the districts up here in Indiana have done 10, 20, some of them 30 projects with us over the last 27 years. There's a reason why I came to work for this company. I worked for a large global company before I worked here, and to be honest, they were more interested in the bottom line than building relationships. And as a business development manager, that's my job, is to build relationships. So it was kind of like I was fighting to get my own team to take care of the customer. So I came to work for this company, and I'm struggling to find the downside myself, to be honest. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect because it's certainly not, but I encourage you. I mean, I'll be happy to provide you all the information, and you guys make a decision on what you think about it.
Is there a time deadline as far as we got to make a decision by such?
No, we just need to decide if we want them to do our needs studies. We're not even at the phase where we can talk about design build or architect, engineer firms, because we need to put out a new RFQ that clearly states what our projects are. And so we can discuss a lot of that at our October 23rd work session, because we need to be very specific about what our asks are, and we're going to need a uniform way of doing RFQs and RFPs. And so we would like to work with our legal counsel team that specializes in construction regulations and skills.
Okay. So what you're saying is you just want to wait. You don't want a decision.
And we can decide at our October meeting once we see what revisions may need to be added to the current agreement that we're doing the services.
We'll do that November meeting. By the time we meet in October, we're not going to have work session.
No, we'll vote in October just on the needs assessment agreement for the pre-study. That's it. No design build at that point, just the study. But there are some revisions that we would like to make with the agreement that they sent to us.
Okay.
So right now we have a recommendation by Dr. Roseborough to table this until our October meeting.
Okay. So, I don't have a problem with that. I'm glad. I appreciate your time and answering the questions, sir.
No, absolutely. Thank y'all for allowing me to join in here and answer these questions. I look forward to speaking with y'all in October.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so, Justin, we may invite you back for our work session on October 23rd. Okay.
That would be fantastic. I'd love to be there. Thank y'all so much for your time.
I will finish up by just saying that in addition to applying for those needs-based grants every year, we also have some repair and renovation funds that are there as part of this needs-based assessment. They will be sending in engineers and specialized mechanics to help us prioritize what those needs are so we can use those dollars wisely.
And if you don't mind, let me add one more thing. One of our services is grant writing. So we actually help y'all. You asked I'm sorry, I don't see the screen, so I'm not sure who asked, but you asked where the money comes from. We help find that money. So whether it's federal money, state money, we help find the money to fund the projects. So that's one of the services we offer, and we offer that at no cost as well.
Okay. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Good night.
So
Thanks.
at this time, if we could have a motion to
So
table. Mr. Dozier made a motion to table. Second, Ms. Taylor. All those in favor? We move on then to Mr. Allman with curriculum and instruction.
Thank you, Ms. Evans, Dr. Roseborough, for the opportunity to speak tonight. We've got multiple items underneath curriculum instruction tonight. So our first item is the new graduation requirements, and Mr. A.J. Whitesell will be coming up to present that for us tonight.
Graduation options for students.
That's right.
Close it down. Right here.
Thank you for all for having me, members of the board. Dr. Roseborough, you've got things in your packet that we'll be taking a look at. There are a couple things that we will not look at, but you will have in your copies to take a look at later. All right. So, updated graduation options for students. First off, the 7 durable skills that North Carolina has deemed to be the most needed for students enrolling in military, college, or career. All right, so that's just where we're starting here. Adaptability, collaboration, you can read to you. Our pathways to success. We have an occupational course of study, our OCS students. All right, that is an adaptive curriculum. We have our future ready and college transfer pathway for 4-year students. We also have a CTE pathway and of course, our early college pathway. And with the CTE option, they do come out with a cluster, right, certificate within that cluster. Right, if you want to click those, you can view all the clusters for the CTE world. So graduation requirements in 2022, they changed it to 22 credits. Right, we still held 28 credits because the state gave us that option too. That requires a computer science class, an arts class, and a CPR certification in addition to all the other requirements that you see there. It is possible moving forward in this that students could complete computer science and the arts requirements at the middle school level, depending on how we lay it out. For the UNC system requirements, to go to a UNC system school, of course, they have to have 2 world languages. Our occupational course of study is designed with students with disabilities. It has an adapted course requirements, but we still have the 22 required credits. They do have to do a career portfolio, take CTE electives, and have employment preparation credits. They also have to have work hours. And last, our MC3 initiative. This is the new change from 24-25. Our goal is to have every student employed, enrolled, or enlisted. So this will be a 3-year early graduation for students that they have the option to select. It is not just walk in and say, I want to graduate within 3 years. This is a very structured, very followed path to graduation. The way it looks, application process is planned. Counselors, parents, student, principal, and superintendent are all involved. Again, we are not taking this lightly. Students leaving in 3 years versus 4 is a big step for any kid, any student. Okay. So 9th and 10th grade, you'll take your required high school courses. 11th and 12th grade, you'll finish up your last high school credits. Then you can move into CCP, CTE certificate courses. That's how we keep our ADM. When we talk about students moving out early, we talk about losing ADM. With CCP, CTE certificate courses, this is how we keep our students under our umbrella. So on the right-hand side, you can see a little bit of what a plan might look like for a student. 9th grade, they're pretty much locked in. They've got their English 1, English 2. They could be at Math 2 in 9th grade. They could have taken Math 1 at the middle schools. We certainly have a group of students doing that now, and we have in the past few years as well. So the maths might change a little bit, but everything else is a little bit there. So the accelerated plan that I've got up there, I put in the world languages. Of course, if the student did not want to go into a UNC system school, they could choose other electives that they wanted. If they were going into a career, they could transplant that with some CTE courses. And that's the 3-year initiative. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
That's pretty heavy.
Yes.
That is, and when I think of someone that wants to graduate early, I'm not thinking that they are going to be successful with that heavy of a load in 9th and 10th grade. Is there movement to move some CTE stuff in there to keep them energized?
I would say it would depend on the student, but that form would likely be pretty close to what we have to hold to make sure we get them out in 3 and they are successful in the plan that they've come up with their parents and our counselors and et cetera.
I mean, I get that, but I also know the young men that want to be done in 3 years, and I'm afraid that is way too heavy in 9th and 10th grade. You've got to have something that's gonna keep them interested, or you can put them in those classes if they're not very successful.
Right, and this is not designed for everyone at all. It's only designed for the handful of select students that say, I'm ready to work.
It's not the accelerated students that want out.
Right, but this process is mostly for students that are accelerated and very self-motivated to say, because some parents actually have their kids do North Carolina virtual credit schools in the summer, which puts them ahead of the game with a lot of their high school credits. And so many of those families would say that part of their post-secondary planning is for their children to go ahead and take the CCP or go ahead and do the associate's degree without early college. They just want to go ahead and do the associate's degree for their child so that they can go ahead and be second semester sophomores in college. There are also some families that also have businesses where they, as part of their post-secondary plan, they may contact the school when their child is in 8th grade, and they may have documentation to show that they are students that should be accelerated, that are performing at a high level, and that they've done all of this additional coursework or demonstration by mastery work, and they want the 3-year graduation report. And so we have had several students that either their family owned businesses and they wanted them out quickly to help run the business because of some accentuating circumstances with the family. And we have had students that have come to the country that are much older, but we started them out in a particular grade level and they wanted to enlist in the military. So we have seen several cases of this across the state of North Carolina, and that's why they came up with the 3-year pathway. But for the most part, that's why the superintendent and the guidance counselors have to sign off on it, because we have to verify that this is a student that can handle this type of acceleration.
So I'm a little bit confused. Is this for the, number one, my first question is, a kid that would do this, they have to be buy-in by the parent. And this kid would have to be an outstanding student. Okay. So is the idea behind this so that they can get all their high school requirements done in 3 years and then go to the MCC and start? So by the time their senior year, that's really going to be their freshman year in college.
Exactly. But the parent,
and then they spend 2 years, still want them in high school. So theoretically, at the end of 4 years, whereas typically a high school student would be graduating from high school, this person would have 1 year of college behind them and be able to go to the college of choice in the UNC system as a sophomore.
Yes, in some cases, North Carolina will give them a scholarship as well if they're demonstrating that they have the fortitude to do the work. But you forfeit your extracurriculars if you're on this plan. Yeah. So once you're a graduate, you are a graduate. The only way you can come to prom is if you're the date of someone that's going to prom or the guest.
And I will say, in the example that I've got up here, it is possible for a 9th grader to come into this situation with world history already knocked out, NC Math 1 already knocked out, so that in their freshman year, they're already taking courses that are aligned with more of a sophomore. So they
when would they get those knocked out? In the 8th grade?
Yes. So right now we offer NC Math 1 to our accelerated students at the middle school level, and world history, is that still Earth and Environmental Sciences? No, excuse me.
And CPR.
And CPR, yes. And possibly the new computer science requirement.
And this would be for kids going to Montgomery Central, not the early college.
Correct. Any student.
Right.
So that's really so that's not.
If you go to the early college, you kind of forfeit the 3-year graduation process.
If you want to say that again, please.
If you're going to the early college, you forfeit the 3 years.
Right, you wouldn't be able to do
right.
this.
They're already on the accelerated path.
How many? I'm a little bit limp on this. I was pretty aggressive in high school, and I would have done this. I mean, how many? How many kids do we actually think that's going to sign? Number one, how many do we think would sign up for it? And is there a limit on, well, if we don't get 15 kids, we're not doing it?
No limits.
No limits. There could be 1 kid. Oh, this is state law.
Yes, sir.
This is not something we came up with. It's limited always.
This is state board policy grad 001.
Oh,
we know them.
So how are we going to make this? How are we going to let parents know about this? Because they're going to need to know about this when their kids in the 6th or 7th grade. Really,
they are aware.
They are aware. Okay.
And now we have the implementation, and we will have another parent information night. We have to do 2.
Okay.
To be sure they are aware.
Okay, so what about our students that are at MLA? I want my kid to graduate in 22. You tell me this is the only option?
No, we
So there's
we
other
have to
options?
graduate all students at 22 credits. All students in North Carolina are required to graduate with 22 credits. You cannot add more to them. You can't say as a district you like for them to graduate with 20. That would be in violation of board policy, state board policy.
And Dr. Roseborough had me work up an application for, I did one for the Central High School, because I assumed that would be where we had the most students. So this could be moved anywhere just to show you the process here. Little scroll. So you see all of the required credits, how many they've completed, whether or not they've got their CPR and arts credit. Right. Then they also have to have their proposed junior year schedule. Attached to that will be an Infinite Campus transcript, and that is our new student information system that we have rolled out this year that will plan and basically eliminate a lot of the issues that schools see with scheduling for students. Because you can say these core students need these core classes, and they get those classes no matter what, and then the students can choose what their electives are.
And their parents.
And their parents as well.
The academic plan course plan, so that's why we have to be sure they know that it only takes 22 credits. I will let you know that we did have some districts that were still stating that they require anywhere from 26, 28 credits, and they were silent for not sharing this information with their families or making their families part of course selection process.
So this is not something we need to vote on tonight. This is just giving us information.
Yes.
Okay.
And especially if somebody questions, we want you to be able to say you have to go talk to your counselor
Right.
about that.
Don't ask me.
And we do require on the application a student statement, a parent statement, and you can see all the signatures required, student, parent, and counselor, and we also have the school use portion, which of course is for school use. So the idea is that this is not I'm going to graduate in 3 years. This is a sit down plan. What are we doing after I graduate? Correct.
Verify that they have a post-secondary.
I'd be interested in knowing how many ends up doing this. Are we rolling this out this year, I guess? It's kind of hard. With this 8th grade.
It's your current 9th and 10th.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
So the next item we have under curriculum instruction is an update from our NCDPI folks. So I've got Aaron Leach, who is the early literacy specialist that is assigned to Montgomery County Schools by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. And I'm going to make sure I get your title correct. And we also have Hope Leckthaler, and she is the early literacy consultant for the Sandhills region who supports Aaron in her efforts in Montgomery County. So they're going to be giving us an update.
Good evening. As Dr. Allman said, I'm Hope Leckthaler. I am the Sandhills Early Literacy Consultant out of the Office of Early Learning with NCDPI. I'm going to speak very briefly and then hand it over to Erin, but just wanted to give her a little bit of framing because she is in a very unique position supporting both you all and the state. She is a state level employee stationed here in Montgomery County as really an embedded part of your district. And so for that reason, she will be who you mainly hear from today. But I am her main point of contact on the state side. And so I offer coaching and support to her and 11 other early literacy specialists here in the region, as well as direct service to districts. But she's going to talk a little bit more about her role, give you some more detail about her role, and then also dig into some data today as well. And I will just be here to frame for the big picture and where these pieces live in legislation in relation to the work. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Amy.
So I'm very excited to be here tonight to talk to you guys about my role within Montgomery County Schools. I'm considered a bridge between the district and the state, and I am a systems level coach that provides support to our district leadership as well as to our school leaders, so our instructional facilitators, principals, and assistant principals. I do have 3 priority schools that are determined based off of our early literacy data that I support, and I'm in those buildings 4 days a week, each week, supporting coaches with grade level plannings, as well as literacy aligned professional learning communities. I also plan alongside teachers, instruction based off of student need. I help them look at our screening data, which is Dibbles 8 data, and determine next best steps for different groups of students based off of where I am and what we're focused on. I do help with letter sustainability within the district. We know that letters is a huge professional development series, and it took us 2 years to get through. To ensure that's not just a one and done, I help with letters PLCs to review the information that was learned, as well as getting that application piece, so taking all of that theory knowledge and applying it to the needs that we have within our district. I also help with our teachers who are going through letters volumes 1 and 2 now, and I help with professional development within the district. Some of the most recent PD opportunities have been Dibbles 8 data protocols, IRPs, which are individual reading plans, and we're going to talk about those in the following slides, and evidence-based literacy practices. This is a graphic that kind of puts into a picture where I fit within all of the things that happen within the state. But one very important thing that I would like to point out is that everything we do is student-centered. And so everything done within the district and the state, we have the student as our focus, because that's why we're all here.
And I just am going to step in briefly to sort of orient us to the data that Erin is going to share about. Many of you are probably familiar with MClass or Dibbles 8, as we sometimes call it as well. It is the state mandated universal screener. It's written into Senate Bill 387, which is our Excellent Public Schools Act, to be administered to every child in grades K through 3. And a universal screener is an essential element of an operational multi-tiered system of support, or MTSS. So it does many things for us, but primarily MClass takes our early literacy data and translates it into acceptable and unacceptable levels of risk to inform the support that children will need to reach benchmark. So it informs our levels of support and a multi-tiered system of support. And also it helps us determine the health of our systems. We can look big picture and see if our systems are moving students towards or to the benchmark overall.
So there are many different ways that you can look at MClass or Dibbles 8 data. One way that we chose to show you guys is looking at students who screened at or above benchmark. And you can see BOY is indicated by the red, MOI is blue, and EOI is yellow. We did have growth across grade levels, and this is the previous year's data. I don't know that I stated that. There was higher growth in second grade than last year. And then you'll notice not as high growth as you go across the grade levels. We are already planning some things to work with our teachers to help with third grade.
Can I interrupt you one
Sure.
second? Consider me a neophyte. So when you say boy, MDV, MOV, and EOV.
Beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year.
Okay. Beginning, middle, and end. All right. Okay.
So this is separate from like EOG data
I
as
just didn't know
well.
what those acronyms. Yeah.
This looks at your foundational skills, like the skills that you need to pull words off of the page.
And it
Essentially.
is a formative assessment, so it informs our instruction throughout the year towards sort of an end of year benchmark.
So what you're looking for based on that is something that looks along the second grade where they're at one level to begin with, then middle they go up, and then end they go up. So that's the highest point at the end. Whereas in the first grade, they started up, they went down, then they went back up. And it's a small increase in the third grade. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm ready to go. Thank you.
So to ensure that our teachers are checking in between our beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year checkpoints, we do something called progress monitoring, and these are quick 60-second tests based off of like lowest skill deficits, where we just check in on our students. And so we follow this pacing, and our well below where our students who screened at red are every 10 days, below, which is yellow, every 15 days. And then we touch our above and well above at least once a month, just to make sure that we're, and that's a little bit more frequently than is recommended, but we just want to make sure that we don't lose any more in between. There is a progress monitoring calendar that teachers keep that actually has individual student names to help them keep up with who is progress monitored when. But, this is the compliance piece. One thing we're working on is the drive to understand why it is so important to have updated data between touch points.
Here, can I ask a question? So, with the progress monitoring, in my experience, it was a difficult piece to help have teachers understand that it does inform their instruction, and it helps them change their instruction to meet the needs of the child. So I know that that's a difficult thing. I guess what I want to know is with DIPLS 8, do we have a process now that it will tell them, like the software will say these are your students that need the 10-day, or are teachers having to go through their data and find those students? You know what I'm saying?
It is laid out really nice, but our instructional facilitators make a calendar, and it goes month by month, that will show like the individual students, but the software does recommend like which measure. And we want to get to the point where we know why we're progress monitoring for that measure, but it will recommend.
So that kind of goes to my next question. Back at the data on the third grade, are we helping our teachers see how to progress monitor outside of third grade skills to come back to phonemic, PSF, or are we showing them how to do that in order to grow those students that don't seem to be moving?
Yes, and one of the updates with DIPLS 8, we have access to nonsense word fluency within third grade, which is really
that is wonderful. Yeah,
so,
yeah. And
that was a nice change.
And teachers do know not to teach nonsense words.
Yes, right.
Okay. Sorry, just had to say it. Had to say it.
They're speaking their own language.
So for example, if a student scored below on PSL for oral reading fluency, which we moved away from the oral reading fluency pieces as much, but in the lower grades, it's more of what the PSL. And if a student goes on and that report says that child never lost PSF and they're now in the third grade, what Ms. Evans is saying is, do they know to start intervening to PSF so that they close the gap before moving forward?
We do have data protocols in place. We start at the core level, so everybody, and then we move forward with intervention groupings where we use additional screeners to determine low and skill deficits.
And I guess the last thing is just for me, it was so eye-opening to see with our third graders, if their oral reading fluency score, the higher they scored, the closer that's giving you an indicator of EOG. So I just, want to make sure teachers do understand that's an indicator that we can't not look at, right? If we're getting our students to move higher in their oral reading fluency, then we know that they're more likely to pass.
Absolutely, and that is something too that we're wanting to draw attention to as a state, the idea behind why we do universal screeners, big
Right.
picture, and the relationship between these measures, that they do have predictive validity. It is not a cause and effect relationship, but there is a strong relationship there, so we do want to definitely bring attention to that. Exactly, we do the formative to help inform our instruction to that summative. And I will just orient us very quickly to the legislation once more. From the same legislation that mandates DIBELS or in-class, the same legislation that has placed Aaron here in Montgomery County Schools. We also have in Senate Bill 387 some guidelines around students who receive support based on the results from the assessments that we just looked at. So when students score well below or below benchmark, it is written in legislation that teachers are obviously providing support, but the legislation is around the documentation of that support and then the notification of parents of that support. And we refer to those as individual reading plans. So as Aaron talks about individual reading plans, this is a direct connection between the data that we saw on the last slide and making that actionable for teachers, documenting that in the classroom, and then notifying parents of both that data and then the support that their child is receiving as a result of that data.
So on August 21st, we went over just the overview of IRPs and reminders for our instructional facilitators. On September 23rd, we will have a teacher refresher training on individual reading plans. On the 30th is actually October 7th now. We had to extend that. But we will have our IRPs in place, and then each child who has an IRP, their parents will receive a letter, and a copy is always stored in the cube folder. So this is just our timeline of the IRPs. You have your beginning of your testing in August and September, and then in September they create the plans or even continue from the year prior if it's appropriate. October, November, you progress monitor, check in, change the plan as needed. We will assess again with our large assessment in December and January. They will have a third review of IRPs in March and April. And then May, they will finalize the plans and get them ready for the following school.
That's all that we have to do. Are there any additional questions?
I do have one more question.
She's got another stick.
I don't have this one on the sticky note. They make fun of me. The IRPs. So is there a cut point? I was trying to read that. Is there a cut point for which students must have IRPs?
Yes, any student who scores below or well below in DIBELS, which sometimes we refer to as red or yellow.
Yeah. Is it a composite? Is it their composite
that's
or
correct.
an individual?
The composite. Yes, that's correct. Yes. Great question.
And who monitors that audit?
You got it. All the acronyms. The individual reading plan data is is reported each year to DPI, to the Office of Early Learning, by grade level, so that they can report that data to the JLOC, the Joint Legislation Oversight Committee.
Yeah, what I'm saying is at school level.
Great question.
The instructional facilitators create the plans within their data teams. And then that data is reported to the county level team and is monitored by us.
Where that's doing
It's monitored by who?
Or the curriculum department.
Where would they be stored?
We have a Google form or a Google Doc that has the student's name and their IRP by type.
Because it's all well and good to have a IRP, But if somebody's not monitoring that, to make sure that CCQ needs to be doing X amount each week, then it's not worth the paper for it.
We appreciate all your
Thank
work.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
y'all.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you folks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Erin. Great job.
And then the last item that we have from the curriculum instruction team this evening is a proposal for graduation dates for this year. Typically, we present this proposal in the month of October, but we started the school year a little early, so we're graduating in May instead of June, so we needed to push it up a month. So in the assembly agenda, you'll see the proposal that we have drafted, and this has been drafted with the input of all the principals. So if you'll notice, we are proposing for Montgomery Learning Academy to graduate on May 21st at 5:30 p.m. in the MCHS auditorium. Then we will transition that same night to the football field for the early colleges graduation. So we will have two on the same night within a couple hours of each other. This saves you guys some time. Again, this has been in coordination with the principals. They say that we can do it.
Did you guys sign off on that? You suggested that.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
they did. This was their idea. So
We just don't want to feed us separately.
No, we're not jointly.
And then the following morning, we will have graduation for Montgomery Central in the football stadium at 8:30 in the morning. So everything will be done that evening and the next morning. So it won't tie up a lot of your evenings like it has in the past. And then, of course, we have proposals in there for rain, and we will just shift and move into the auditorium. It will already be set up for one night, so it should be an easy transition. Hopefully, it will not rain. But this is up as an action item, so if y'all have any questions, I will be glad to answer them.
I want just let it say that these are never a bother to attend because I always think these are our paydays. This is where we get to see our wonderful graduates walk across the stage. But if you guys are okay being back to back, I make a motion to it.
Well, we got to hold off on the right now.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Well, darn, I was ready to vote.
And wait on the for Montgomery Central. If there is a rain and it has to be in the auditorium, we're going to have to limit the number of.
Yes, and all the schools are aware of if we do limit in, they'll have a ticket system like we've done in the past. It will be a very limited ticket for Montgomery Central with having approximately 200 graduates and the auditorium only holding a little over 800 people. So it will be tight. Yeah.
Everybody else on the stage. Ask me how I know how to do that.
Any additional questions?
Thank you, Wade.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Jack Cagle with Student Services.
Thank you. And I will be brief. Promise. The first one we'll talk about is Atrium's virtual therapy. We've expanded access, reduced wait times, and improved student engagement with strong growth and patient satisfaction, reinforcing its leadership in leading the state in services. The conversion rate, we had 31 referrals. We had completed 25 intakes. We had 6 decline or no responses. 78% conversion rates, very good. Mind you, this program started November 1st, 2024. Elementary schools had 7 referrals. Middle and high school had 24. We're going to look at them. You look at them right here. Page Street had the most of the elementary, and Central had the most of secondary and then in the early college. If you look right here, I've chopped out some of the information on the side because it has identifiable information of counselors who are doing the virtual therapy. Didn't want to get their names up there so students can see this thing live. So that's why I've chopped it a little bit. So those 24 referrals, they made up for 175 visits, which is about 7.2. And then so far through this school year, I went ahead and added that we've had 4 already. But last year that was the count. Any questions about that?
Yeah, say that again. This year we've had how many?
4 so far.
4. Okay.
Now last year we had about 18 in between November 1st and Christmas. It was a hard time. Generally in November is when kids are sad. We found that out with most of the counselors.
What, tell me, I know you've told us this before, but the process to make a referral.
Yes, the student or parent can make a referral to the guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor will get in contact with Atrium. Atrium does all the footwork. They contact the parents. They make a time. Set the times up when kids are not in their core classes. It's 100% program is free. If you have Medicaid, if you have insurance, they'll take that. But this is free to us because it's the Duke Endowment funded this. So that's how we got these services.
Jack, let me ask you a question. What if I'm a teacher and I see a student that I'm concerned about? Can I make that referral?
You can absolutely. You refer that kid to the counselor and to a yes. You can make that referral. You can talk to the counselor and
call the kid in and talk to them.
Yes, and then the parent, and then they'll reach out to Atrium.
Okay.
The parents are involved.
We even have our instructors at the college sometimes send some referrals over if they're seeing something on there.
And this is also available to all staff, Montgomery High School staff as well. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Got another one. Basically, this is a MOU with First Health of the Carolinas, and this is about our our school-based dentists and medical clinics. Right now, we're up for a renewal, and the fee is $140,000 by October the 31st. But mind you, these services are for students. Parents do not have to get off from work to take them. There's no drive time to Pinehurst or Albemarle or anywhere else. They're right there on campus, and we have at the middle schools and we have them at the high school. So students have access, and trust me, parents love that. So we're recommending that this agreement be continued to maintain and further strengthen these valuable services for our students.
So Jack, we're funding this to the tune of how much?
140,000.
140,000, which is coming out of our budget.
I'm not sure I can get that question answered.
Money's coming out.
Okay. So this is enough that we need to.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last one. Did I mess up? Jesus Christ.
Local law enforcement.
Where? Right here?
Yes.
Sorry.
Get back in there. You got it.
Okay.
Don't feel bad, Jack. If you want to Dr. Roseboro, I would still be on the phone.
We'll take Jack, Brian, technology without fix.
I fall in the village idiot class.
Okay. So my last one is this is basically the local law enforcement MOU. This is an agreement between the sheriff's department with the SROs at secondary level and the police chiefs. They met with Dr. Roseboro and her team to talk about this coming school year. And there will be a drill, an intruder drill, if you hadn't heard, this coming Wednesday in all schools. So just let you know.
What kind of drill is that?
Intruder drill.
Oh, intruder.
Okay, sir. And so that's just an MOU that we approve.
Is there any cost to this? I mean, are we funding any of this?
No, sir. The Center for Safer Schools has funded the SROs at the town schools,
right,
for up to 2027.
Okay, good.
And that is, unless you have any questions, that is all I have.
Thank you. We'll go to Dr. Roseborough now for our superintendent's update.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good evening, Madam Chair and board members. This is the superintendent's update for September 8th. This is a reminder to everyone that we have our next listening tour session out in Bisco in the Candor community at East Middle School. And so we hope that you will join us out there from 5:30 to 6:30, where we will be gathering input and feedback from the local community about our next steps as a district, but also what they would like to see us improve upon and what are the characteristics of a quality school district. So we'll be getting lots of good feedback on our surveys as well as our face-to-face meetings during the listening tour. This is a reminder that on September the 11th is our day of remembrance. For September the 11th, it commemorates the lives lost during the tragic 2001 events, honoring the memory of our fellow citizens during September the 11th. We will participate in a district-wide moment of silence observed at 8:30 a.m. to reflect on 9/11. And then we hope that our schools will go ahead and encourage age-appropriate discussions to teach the significance of resilience and unity after this tragedy. It is also Hispanic Heritage Month. We will begin celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month September 15th through October 15th. It is dedicated to celebrating the history and achievements of Hispanic and Latino communities nationwide. And our next update is about our quarterly work sessions and proposing that we have quarterly work sessions. We talked about this a little bit during our board retreat. And the purpose of our quarterly work sessions would be for us to provide focused time to discuss curriculum, policy, finance, and operations topics. So tonight was a great example of why we need a work session related to operations so that we can dive deeper into a discussion and be able to make sure that all board members are on the same page in terms of their knowledge of construction projects and procurement processes. Scheduling efficiency. In order for us to schedule these sessions and not interfere with dates that you already have set aside, we are proposing that on the dates that we have the school visits that we eat lunch and then we can move into a work session maybe from 1 to 3 o'clock p.m. To do those deep dives into some of those discussions. And so it is our hope that we will be able to accommodate that schedule so that we can take the opportunity to dive deeper into the topics that we need to discuss more deeply. It will also help us with our strategic planning, budget planning, and policy updates for better decision so that we all stay in the know and on the same page. Okay, hot off the presses of our district liaison is Dr. Jack Cable for Community Schools Coalition support. This is a DPI initiative partnered with Student U out of Durham, North Carolina. The state has made a concerted effort to make sure that high need schools in the Sand Hills region are part of the Community Schools Coalition. The focus is focused on community and family involvement or engagement. Community in schools, which is what we have, is a different organization focused on student support and needs within the school. Community schools is part of mobilizing the community and actually training parents on how to best support their children in ensuring that they are on grade level for reading, what type of supports are needed in the home, what type of supports are needed from the community. Oftentimes in high needs communities, our stakeholders and people that really want to help the schools may want to do an initiative that they feel is helpful to the school without asking the school exactly what those needs are. The purpose of community schools is to help our principal leaders as well as leaders in the school be able to articulate what the specific needs are. And then we will hire a coordinator, a community coordinator, who will serve solely for Mount Gilead Elementary School to be that liaison between the school and our community and business partners. We're really fortunate. I think we will probably end up being a model school for this project. We have a former employee who is the regional coordinator. Ms. Jessica Lyler is also spearheading this for the Sand Hills region. But most importantly, Mount Gilead has really, really dynamic partnerships already at play. It's just that organization and corralling everybody together to get on the same page that we're working towards. We're going to have a community meeting at Mount Gilead School on September the 16th to talk more about this initiative and how we can organize ourselves to have a more coherent framework for community and family engagement. All right, hot off the presses, if you haven't seen our immediate press release this morning about our test scores, we are going to dive deeper into the scores, looking at student groups, action planning on October 23rd during the board work session. But in the meantime, we are actually analyzing all of the data, and it'll be released in October in terms of solidifying our federal designations. We have preliminary data still. But after the first week in October, our federal designations for every school will actually be solidified. That will be the schools that are low performance schools or targeted school improvement schools. So right now, just to highlight some things is we do have our school performance growth and grades, and we also have our graduation rate is at an all-time high. We're actually number 7 in the state for graduation right now. We also want to give kudos to Dr. Sewell, who's in the audience from U.S. News on Montgomery County Early College earned a high national ranking as one of the best high schools in the country by earning national ranking in the top 40%. So we are very ecstatic that we have earned that badge by the U.S. News. Just to give a preliminary data overview of where we stand, MCS has 80% of its schools meeting and exceeding growth expectations for the 24-25 school year. We had 2 that exceeded, 6 that met, and 2 not met.
Dr. Roosevelt, is this official? Or is this official?
These are the official. It just came out. That's why we went ahead and did our press release.
How does it compare to last year?
Where that's where we're going to dive deeper into the reports on October 23rd. But just to let you know, we remain steady. So we lost 1.1%. We're negative 1.1% from the previous school year. We're still hovering in the 40th percentile, 46.1, I believe.
So low performing are still the West Middle and
we have lower. We've added one more. So we continue to be a low performing school district. We've added East Middle School to the list, and MCS has 70% of its schools that have a school performance grade of D or F. The high school graduation rate is still at an all-time high of 94.4, but as we talked about previously, we want our proficiency rates as a district to match our graduation rate. So right now for our performance grades, we have 1A, 2 C's, 6 D's, and 1 F. So the State Board of Education last week reviewed the test scores for accountability to evaluate statewide school performance. The district will analyze performance trends and plan strategically during the end of year review on October 23rd. That's when we'll make key decisions about leadership in low performing schools and whether or not they have been recurring or persistently reoccurring for the past 3 years and what our next steps need to be for that. Key performance indicators is that we looked at our cohort graduation rates, standardized test results, and school performance grades. Data-driven planning is essential as we move the district forward, not waiting to the end, but doing checkpoints all along the way to inform how well our students and our teachers are understanding our standards. A lot of our common formative assessments that we do, which we refer to as interim assessments, whether they be at the local level or at the state level, we are looking to see how well we are teaching the standards. Sometimes our teachers have not gotten to the standards that are going to be assessed. The messaging for that is that's either going to be your pre-test or it's going to show you post-test. It's either going to show what you need to cover or what you need help with teaching, because you might not understand the way you're supposed to deliver the instruction for the standard. Sometimes we teach parts of the standard, not a whole standard. So we've got to unpack that to be sure that our teachers do understand the standards that they're teaching and then respond for it. So that is our report. There's more details in the press release about our test scores and where we currently are. Star Elementary is what we would consider like our flagship school. They maintained a C, but they also exceeded growth. So we also want to give them a shout out as well for exceeding growth and increasing proficiency. Thank you.
At this time, we'll move on to Roman numeral number 6, and I will we'll go into closed session after I read this. In accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-31811, the board will now enter closed session for the following purposes: to discuss confidential personnel matters and to consult with legal counsel regarding any matters protected under attorney-client privilege. These discussions are necessary to protect the privacy of individuals and to preserve the legal interests of the board. A motion to enter closed session is now in order, and the specific statutory citations will be recorded in the meeting minutes.
Before we go into that, I got a couple of questions. Can I ask this? So, how is the cell phone policy?
Wonderful. We are doing amazing. Seeing our children's eyes and making sure that they're engaged in the learning process. We've had just a few students that kind of book the system a little bit. They did render consequences, but I think that is going to be a good data point for many schools across North Carolina in terms of student achievement. Now that we feel that students are present.
Okay. And then the last thing I've got is, I see now that Winston-Salem schools have gone from 40 million in the whole 50 million, 45 million. And I saw a couple of the school board members interviewed, and they were clueless. They had no advance notice, nothing like that. I would, speaking for myself, can't speak for the rest of the board, but I want to know ahead of time if there's any potential problems coming down the road. I don't want to know when they get here. I mean, in some cases, something pops up, but most of the time it's coming down the road. And if forewarned is forearmed, so we can figure out what we need to do with it. We're in really good shape. I don't ever want to get in the shape of a Winston-Salem.
I don't see any before.
Yeah, and I know you don't either.
And I think we all agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But Mr. Dozier, I want to tell you a couple of things just to respond to what you just said. There are a couple of things that we're doing right now. One is we're analyzing our current staffing levels to be sure that our staffing levels are equivalent to where or aligned to our allocations. I've asked for that information. I also asked for every department to have a department budget so that they know how many people are being paid salaries out of their particular departments for transparency's sake. In January, we'll operate from a budget timeline. So we'll start the budgeting process with each department started in November. In January, we should be having an extensive budget workshop with board members to educate you on the various PRCs and codes and descriptions of how we're supposed to use each program code and the money that is within those codes and how we've been utilizing that because we are able to kind of move money, shift money around. But to your point of what happened in Winston-Salem, there was a variety of things that were happening, and board members were not privy to all of the information in terms of the budgeting process. And they have now found themselves in a hole due to over allocating funds, moving funds around between accounts, and they're overstaffing the exceptional children's. Thank you.
I
Yeah, I need a motion.
I do need a
So
motion.
moved.
Mr. Dozier, motion to go into closed session. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Blake, all in favor? Aye. Now we move on to Roman numeral 7, action items for consideration of approval. And the first is that would like the consideration for approval of the first read from the policies that Dr. Shaw presented earlier.
So moved.
Ms. Epps. Ms. Epps moved. Mr. Dozier seconded. All in favor? Motion passed for the first read of policies. Next, we'll go to Roman numeral 8, consent agenda for consideration of approval. First, I need a motion for consideration of board minutes from the August 4th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Mr. Dozier, Mr. Blake second. All in favor? Next, we'll go to the personnel report that Dr. Shaw gave during closed session. I need a motion for consideration of approval for the personnel report.
So moved.
Mr. Blake, second. Ms. Taylor, all in favor? Motion carried. Next, we'll go to student transfers and field trips. That was also enclosed in the packet from Dr. Shaw. Excuse me, I need a motion for consideration of approval for that.
So moved.
Ms. Epps moved, second Ms. Smith, all in favor? Next, we move on to the school safety MOU presented by Dr. Cagle. I need a motion for consideration of approval for the school safety MOU.
So moved.
Mr. Dozier, second Ms. Taylor, all in favor? Motion passed. Next, also from Dr. Cagle, the First Health of the Carolinas MOU. I need a motion for consideration of approval.
So moved.
Ms. Epps moved, second Mr. Blake, all in favor? Motion passed. And last, we'll go to the graduation date proposals that Mr. Allman presented, and I need a motion for consideration of approval. Ms. Taylor, second Mr. Dozier, all in favor?
I'm going to ask a really stupid question. Is there not a way we can just approve it all? It's got to be done piecemeal. We've never done that before. It's good.
There's a way you can do it.
Okay.
We'll discuss that later.
Okay.
All right, with that, is there any other business questions? You need a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Mr. Dozier made a motion to adjourn. Ms. Epps, second. All in favor? Motion, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.